Today, we become legends.
Today's Titan Talk discussed some additional OB13 changes that weren't showcased on Wednesday, the brand new Smite Wiki, the future direction of quick play, and a whole lot more. So without further ado, let's jump into the recap. First up, there's been a change deployed to live for Backfill, which is where the system fills in any missing slots if people don't connect to the lobby initially. This now has a maximum wait time of 1 minute before it fails and puts you back in the queue. This was 4 minutes before, and they looked into it and found that 90% of successful backfills occurred in the first minute anyway. So keeping players waiting for 4 minutes for it to potentially fail felt like a waste of time, when often a requeue will be less than 4 minutes anyway. The full OB13 patch notes were showcased today, but of course we know basically everything that's coming for the update from Wednesday's show, so if you missed that, you can check out my videos from a few days ago. I'll only cover the things that we didn't know about before here. They've made some improvements to the match lobby performance on Xbox through the UE 5.5 upgrade, so that should run a lot smoother for Xbox players. They also called out Aphrodite's Prisms will have unique card art, and this will be the standard going forward for Prisms, which is cool to hear. Kepri's ability targeters have been updated, and they're looking for feedback on if players like this to potentially do similar things for other gods, so either on PTS or when the patch goes live, you can share your feedback about that with the team. We talked about the new quick play mode before, but they did mention on the show that quick play Joust and quick play Conquest will be coming at a later date in that order, but for now it's just Arena. A small change to Arena Minotaurs is also being made, where they will now spawn every 3 minutes for both teams instead of every 10 kills. Scylla's aspect buff was shown as well, as she now maintains her current mana percentage when leveling up, so if you had max mana and could ult but then you level up, you can now still ult, whereas before you'd be slightly off from being able to. She can now benefit from base and item mana regen to give her a small baseline of mana consistently, but she still can't gain mana from fountains, potions, totem, that kind of stuff. And finally, they've increased the max mana gain on hitting an enemy god with an ability from 1% to 2%. The ultimate cooldown has also been removed, which usually isn't too relevant, but now you can ult as soon as you get enough mana, regardless of having the 90-second cooldown that you had before, which was limiting in rare cases. That's it for the extra changes in the patch notes that we didn't know about before. One final thing they did mention is that the new Smite 2 wiki is live at wiki.smite2.com. This is a huge W in my opinion, as it was previously pretty hard to find concise, accurate information on gods and items with good presentation. I know that for me personally, this will be a really useful resource for content creation, but even just for players wanting to look up gods, items, or mechanics, it should be a big help. They worked with an external partner on this that also hosts and maintains tons of other game wikis like RuneScape, League, Warframe, Minecraft, and others, and you can definitely tell it's at least as good as the Smite 1 wiki, if not a little better in my opinion. And yeah, as I said, this is a really important resource that we were missing for Smite 2 in my opinion, given how complex the game can be. If you want to contribute to the wiki yourself, you can join the Smite 2 official Discord and hop into the wiki channel. But that's everything new we had to talk about. Let's move into the Q&A section for the show. So first up, someone asked why they're giving crit to an auto hit no skill ability like Nuar ult, and Kilgun said they aren't opposed to doing that, and part of Smite 2 is that they are more open with their design and letting crazy things be possible, but they are looking at potential nerfs to the ult's damage in the aspect based on PTS feedback that it is doing too much damage currently. Someone asked for ranked assault, and Kilgun said probably not, just due to the nature of the mode being inherently random and they wouldn't want to split the player base of an already relatively small queue, but they could do something similar to the Conquest Cups that they've talked about before, where maybe there's a weekend every few weeks or months where a competitive assault queue is available. Someone asked if basic attacks in action cam at a fixed distance in the way that aiming them upwards will slightly reduce their range, and Kilgun said yes, he thinks that's how it works. There was a question about splitting the player base with modes like quick play, and they said it's not something they're super concerned about at the moment, as quick play is more so meant as a new player introduction queue and testing ground. They don't expect mainstay Smite players to be playing it that much, maybe just for a few matches to test out the changes and give feedback, but it is something they will keep an eye on in the future if quick play becomes more popular. Someone asked if they could solve the rage quitter problem by letting someone join the match in progress to fill their spot, and Kilgun said that doesn't really work in a game like Smite, as that player will be joining in on a god and role they didn't choose and might not know how to play, with a build that might be terrible and probably down massively in levels and gold. It's just better to F6 that game and move on in most cases. Someone mentioned free god tokens past level 50, and Kilgun said they will check and make sure. That's supposed to be in, but it could be not working as intended right now. If that's the case, then they'll work on fixing it. Someone asked about Wukong aspect and if he'll have one on launch, and Kilgun said they're testing one internally right now, but aren't fully sure if they like it yet, and it might need some reworking, so possibly available on launch, but not guaranteed. And finally, someone asked about the combat dodge in quick play, and if they could potentially do other options for these combat actions, like block or parry for solo laners, or battle cry buff for supports. course. And Kilgun said there's definitely a lot to explore there that they could look into depending on how successful the initial test is. Even with the range basic attack projectile speed increase, that would kind of break the game where it just dropped into regular competitive conquest lobbies. So they might need to look into some way to buff other playstyles alongside that change to make it balanced and not just ADCs take over the entire meta. Quick play is all about experiments at the end of the day, and just because something exists there, it doesn't mean it will come to normal queues in that exact form, if at all. But that's everything discussed on today's Titan Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to catch all my future recaps and drop a like if you find them useful, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.